OMB, some of my recommendations to OMB based on the findings. OMB, I would argue, ought to focus first on, across the government, communicating what government targets and trends are for the key, so that it's much easier to see for key indicators what the targets are that federal agencies are really trying to accomplish, both on the high-level targets as well as cascading down to supporting targets from the programs, and what the trends are. There's no place now to find that simply, and we need to figure out. OMB should create a web portal that makes it easy to find that information. Secondly, OMB should facilitate cross-agency learning. There is a lot of work that agencies do where they could learn from one another. Whether we're talking about compliance from industry, where it would help to understand, everybody would benefit from knowing characteristics of different kinds of industries, how they get their information, what motivates them to change. You could do a lot of learning across agency. Or how you measure compliance, for example, among regulated agencies. A lot of agencies are trying to do behavior change, either among regulated parties or voluntarily among individuals or institutions. There's a lot of learning to be done here. OMB should catalyze, stimulate the creation of facilities of communities of practice, working with the Performance Improvement Council. And there's a whole, in the report, the IBM report, there's a whole list of areas where there should either be communities of practice or study groups to advance our knowledge and our thinking. This is about the federal government in the United States. The federal government should have a high level of sophistication on measurement and management with measurement and implementation across these functions, and we can learn from each other. One of the ways OMB could make that happen is in its summary report, making it possible to sort the summary reports by program types. So whether it's research and development or capital investment, or it is a regulatory program or an intergovernmental program, if I could sort the targets and trend strategies as well as the part assessments by program type, it would be much easier to understand and to learn across agencies. Third, I would recommend that the PART process, the Program Assessment Rating Tool, be revised and renamed. It should be renamed so that it's not all about assessments and ratings, but really about performance improvement. But it was a good driver of change. It really did bring about change in the federal agencies and federal programs. Part of revising that, the part will include things like reducing the subjectivity, and I'll explain some specific recommendations that I have on that in a second. The OMB should also reconvene the President's Management Council to, this time though, focus much more on performance than in the past, and in dealing with things like management risks. It ought to think not just about the prescriptive practices that it thinks works, but actually how do I manage management risks? So what are the management risks? It might be, cash flow problems. It might be high personnel turnover rates. It might be delayed receipts. There are a lot of different kinds of management risks that agencies are dealing with. How can we measure those so that we get those risk indicators? And the Performance Management Council is one place where we could start to tackle this and really get a much better understanding of what those risks are, not what we think the right methods are to reduce the risks. And so really developing those risk indicators. And then finally, OMB should push for increased training for both OMB examiners and for people in the federal agencies, not just in the performance improvement offices, but across the programs. And we just need more training on how you actually use goals and measures to improve management. So I would urge that OMB push agencies to do that, but also provide some of that support itself, so that OMB is actually not just prescribing, but it is becoming the knowledge manager itself and a support operation. And of course, to do that, OMB, the performance management team in OMB, which is a very small unit right now, will probably need more people. So I urge the OMB to increase the size of the performance team to help the whole federal government understand how to do this better and support them in doing that better.